Yo, 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 what's going on, guys? Bringing you today another podcast here, joined by longtime friend and minor league pitching coach, JC Bonilla here. And in this podcast, we're going to be speaking a lot about the mental side. It's something that I've been noticing that is affecting a lot of athletes lately. And after having talks with JC Bonilla about the mental side, so he brought up a lot of good points and kind of just wanted to share them with you guys today. But without further ado, I'm not really going to steal the spotlight from you, JC. You can go tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Versatile, good morning. How y'all doing? Hope everybody's doing well. Anthony, nice to see you again. Long time no see. So like Anthony said, JC Bonilla, minor league pitching coach, longtime friend of Anthony since we were young, really came up from New York, played college ball together, trained a lot together. So we've been through a lot of ups and downs together. Now, from the mental side of things, I believe like we've gone through a lot that's helped us now train these young athletes and prepare them for the baseball world and life outside of baseball as well.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I think it's pretty cool, like how we always go back and forth. Like me and you training together, like since we were growing up, like we tried a lot of like different stuff to get our velo up to stay healthy. And we're always speaking more about the performance side of things. But like as I was talking to you, you brought up the mental side. And I was like, oh, like when you first brought it up, I didn't really think much of it. I was like, okay, like, cause I didn't like, yes, I struggle with the mental side, but I never really like sat back and I was like, oh, well, maybe it's my mental side. Like, I just thought everything was performance. Like, the more that I prepared, the better that I would be. And honestly, man, like, the more that I train athletes, I'm starting to notice that there is a big hole on the mental side. So, like, just wanted to take in your views and stuff. Like, how have you dealt with the mental side in your past career from like dealing with labrum injuries and not really being able to recover, but still being that guy for your team? If you can just go ahead and start telling us a little bit about what your career was like with that.
Definitely, definitely. So even going back to my high school days, it's somewhat like, being from New York, it's like you got to be a dog. Like if not, you're gonna get eaten alive. So thank God we grew up in that little era where that new baseball was coming up. So the Yordano Ventura, the Jose Fernandez, all these guys. So that new school of baseball that we're now living through right now, that they were coming back now. So at that point, my favorite pitcher was Yordano Ventura. So I kind of like imitated him, little stuff he would do on the mound, his mound presence. I would try to imitate that. It's something my dad always told me. Hey, you could be the nicest person in the world, but once you step on the field, you got to become a different animal. So when someone I looked up to as well that is not a baseball player was Kevin Garnett. And like he was a guy who liked to talk a lot of trash, get in a lot of people's head. And I saw how that affected other athletes. So that's something I adapted to my game, and I would try to do the same on the baseball field, whether it be on the mound, on the dugout, just trying to see who's the glue guy for the other team and just try to get in his head. And sometimes it would work to your advantage. You would see how a team will crumble just because their leader cannot hold the fort, right? He will crumble under pressure. So that's something I used to my advantage. Now in my college career, right, I dealt with a lot of injuries beginning in freshman year. And the biggest thing is when you're young, like you just want results right away, results, results, results. But at the end of the day, it's a process, like it's a marathon. So the quicker like I found that out, it wasn't until I would say junior year where it clicked. Like like sophomore year, I had a subscap tear. I was out for about a year and a half. Then when I came back from that, I had a partial tear UCL. So it was just like a lot of things, and I was able to pitch through that, and I didn't use it as an excuse. Like I pitched well, I was there for my team, but it was just a grind where I had to be 100% dedicated to being in the training room, 100% dedicated to my recovery, whether that be sleeping, eating right, like everything. I had to take it up a notch just so I can like stay on the field, stay healthy. And then after that, back in 22, I dealt with some labrum tear. I had a labrum tear and a rotator cuff tear that I ended up pitching my last year of college ball with. But it was just a grind. It was just a grind. And mentally, I just focused on enjoying the game. Because at the end of the day, like I had a reality. I was like, look, I don't think I'm going to go professional. I have a labrum tear. I'm going to need surgery. No team is going to want a pitcher that has all this damage on his arm. So I really just enjoyed my last year, and every outing I had, I just thought it was my last one. Every pitch was my last pitch, and I enjoyed it, and I was able to get through the whole season, and I was able to pitch in some clutch games for my team.
Yeah, cool, man. And ironically, I think your senior year, you can correct me if I'm wrong, your senior year was like probably one of your best years in your college season.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It was definitely one of my best. I did pitch in some clutch games. Also, I came up in the playoffs and in a winner go home game. I threw 5.2 innings with the rotator cuff tear, labrum tear, and until I couldn't give no more. And it was an all moment. You know, sad because it was my last outing, but excited also because I helped my team in a big way, and everyone was there to meet me as I was walking off the field with my shoulders shattered. But
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
all worth it. You know, the memories and all the friends I made, and it also helped me get the opportunity that I have now working pro bowl.
For sure. And you mentioned something that's like that's really interesting. So you started to focus more on enjoying the game. So like from when you look back now, what was it that made the biggest difference for that senior year? Like was it almost like realizing that hey, like you're probably not gonna be able to play further after this, so like just go ahead and kind of like give up, or was it your past experience that just everything like made sense for you now and then, or like kind of like what was it, a mindset shift? Was it more of a performance shift? What helped you get that breakthrough in that senior year?
It was definitely a mindset shift. Like first and foremost, I had like faith in God, faith in what I was doing. I trusted everything because going into that senior year, that last year, I haven't thrown a baseball since May. I got cleared to throw in January, and it was just like a quick ramp up because you know college ball starts in February. So just faith and I trusted everything I do. But and then after that, it was everything coming into full circle. Like looking back, like wow, I really started playing this game when I was 3 years old. Looking back at all my teammates, ex-teammates that I played with along the way, where they have gone. And I just looked at it. It was after the COVID year, so I had an extra year, and I looked at it like, wow, I'm the last one standing out of everyone in that 2016 class. So it was just a bittersweet moment. And after that, just trusting the process.
For sure. And even on like trusting the process, that's something that a lot of athletes struggle with. I struggle with that myself. And a lot of athletes that I train with now, like they struggle the patience side of things. They're like, they want things now, 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 now. And you mentioned that you realize that it was a marathon. It wasn't a sprint. Like, so, it was something that you had to take on a day-to-day basis. What, when, once you realize that, like, what was the shift in your performance? Like, once you realize that hey, it's probably not gonna happen now. Like, if I make one mistake right now, it's not going to be the end of the world because you have more at bats coming up.
True, true. So it was a big mindset change, and it also just helped me a bunch because like I was always caught up like, oh, like I gotta get my stats up there, like that's how scouts is gonna see me, and like you kind of get like sucked into that. Like you know, you have a couple outings, and then you keep looking at your ERA after the game, you keep looking at all your stats, and you get caught into it. But when the mindset changed and I just started thinking, hey, pitch by pitch, just think one pitch at a time, execute this one pitch. And, you know, as a reliever, as a closer, like you come into these high leverage games, you can't think about, oh, yeah, I get these 6 outs and my area is going to go down to that. So once I changed that and started thinking pitch by pitch, like everything opened up, everything was much easier. And I wasn't really like, baseball's a game of failure. It's a hard game. Like it's really tough, especially as a pitcher, especially as a relief pitcher. It's very hard. Like you're expected to come in bases loaded or whatever it is, a one-run game and shut the door down. So once I was able to change that mindset, execute it, everything opened up and I didn't put as much pressure on myself. Because especially nowadays, like some athletes may get pressure from their parents, their trainers, even coaches, fellow teammates. Like, hey, like, you know, pressure to do good. And you put pressure on yourself as well. So just enjoying the game and thinking pitch by pitch really helped me execute and have fun that senior year.
100%. And when you're mentioning pitch by pitch, because obviously, like I remember from watching you like pitch, you're a high energy guy. Like you talk, man. Like you just won't like take it. Like you really you really try to bring emotions out of people, try to get in their head and stuff. So whenever you will make like one mistake, let's say 3-2 count, and you just throw a ball, right? And you're like, damn, like you just walk, the leadoff hitter to then like, probably face an even more dangerous hitter. How do you overcome those small mistakes that yes, they can be game changing, but if you don't really control your thoughts right there and there, it could be a much bigger problem.
Definitely, definitely. So my mindset was always I was better than the other hitter. Like it could be, I would say, hey, it could be Alex Rodriguez hitting Barry Bonds. I know I could get him out. So I really didn't let that walk or maybe that hit or even home run affect me. I was just ready for the next pitch and the next hitter. Because honestly, if I walked someone or gave up a hit, I was confident enough where I could hold runners. Right. I wasn't scared of, let's say, oh, he's gonna steal a base or whatever. I can't throw to the base. I had confidence in my catcher as well. So I said, if I could execute my pitch, I trust him. I know he's gonna make a good throw. And I was fortunate enough, my whole college career, I was fortunate enough to play with good catchers. So like I never had to worry about the running game or nothing like that. I just had to worry about executing my pitches and throwing competitive pitches too.
Dude, honestly, like I think it's something so great and like such a big change that you make. Like once you understand, like, hey, like you have to be in this very moment right now. Like this next pitch is the one that matters. Like this batter right here is the one that matters. This game right here is the one that matters. And what that does is that it brings you back to the present moment and it helps you get a full on focus, like in everything that's happened. And like something that like thinking back to my career, like something that made a big change with me, like obviously like the faith in God and stuff, like the same mentality, but like there was a time where like, I was just thinking way too much into the future. I was like, whoa, like I'm worried about my stats. I'm worried about what my coach is gonna say if I miss this pitch. And something that like helped me, which was kind of in like a different way, like as you're saying, it's I started meditating. I started like focusing on my breath. I like every single breath, like I was here right now. And what that allowed me to do was that like I started to notice that everything else was just irrelevant. Like
Mhm.
nothing was really important besides this right here, right now. And that allowed me to really dig down and deep into like who I was and what I was going to execute in that certain at bat. So
Definitely, definitely.
it's yeah, it's something that a lot of like athletes like struggle with. Where like I've dealt with athletes that they make one mistake, and then that's just it. That's just it. So, um, in terms of like everything else, it's something that a lot of athletes like struggle with too, which is not really spoken about much, is the yips. And
For
I've
sure.
dealt with a handful of athletes too that have had the yips. Some of them I've helped them recover back. Others like just had to see a psychologist and kind of like, remap their brain and thinking, and it's definitely helped. Through them, I found that the yips is a form of PTSD, which I was like, oh, what? Like, that's kind of crazy, but I mean, it makes sense. So, in your career, like, did you ever deal with the yips?
Oof, definitely, definitely. I dealt with the yips for about a year and a half, and it was tough. Like it all stems from confidence. Like from my personal experience, like my yips was throwing to first base. Like like I had a tough time. Let's say throwing to first base, I would just see the first baseman, and I wouldn't see nobody behind them. So I always had that like, well, if I throw it away, runner's gonna go first to third. Like, and the circus just starts. But one way I combated that was just one, you got to keep practicing it, right? So let's say if your yips is throwing to first base, like it was to me, keep doing pickoffs, even if it's bad, right? Do it in situations that don't count. Fall ball, practice in your catch play, practice it. So I had to develop a routine to help me overcome that. I've also dealt with athletes who had the yips on the mound, not only like throwing to bases, but on the mound throwing to the catcher. And at the end of the day, the yips, like on the mound, you're like the catcher's your throwing partner. That's how you got to think about it. And one way I helped them overcome that yips was one, speaking positive out there, right? Positive, like positive reflections out there, positive, like giving them confidence. It's all about confidence as well, right? And also, I kind of started with the psychological side, kind of asking them, hey, what's your purpose? Like, why are you playing baseball? Because at the end of the day, when dealing with these athletes, I tell them, look, you came a long way. Like, look where you started. Like, what are your best moments in baseball? What do you recall? Now, I want you to have the same fun that you had back then now. Because I've dealt with athletes who had the yips, and let's say if the athlete, for instance, usually throws like mid to low 90s, right? And then with the yips, now he's like high 80s, low 80s, right? So now I got to get him back on track. And even I've seen guys hit the top of the fence of the backstop. So it's all confidence, getting back into it. And once they get on a roll, right? Even if it's, let's say, if the guy, your athlete was struggling to get one inning, right? He couldn't get through one inning. And then once he gets that one inning or that one plus inning, you award him small little steps. So he start getting that confidence back, start getting that confidence. And once he started buying into that, it should be like he should get over. And also like figuring out his routine as well. Like there's guys where I've done different kind of routines during the throwing program, different kind of movements, just so they just have fun.
That's so crazy, like how much the mental side like just affects your performance in general.
Hmm.
Just how you said, some guys have dealt with the yips, or just confidence issues in general. They literally gone from like low mid 90s to like 80s.
Yeah,
It's just crazy,
it's crazy. It's crazy.
That's just crazy. And like thinking back to like when I've trained the athletes that I've had now, like I've also had a handful of athletes that have been throwing, you know, in certain, low range for their whole entire career, like low 80s, or maybe high 70s. And once I've trained with them, like kind of like similar similar like approach that you have, and it's just like showing them that, hey, like I believe in you,
Mhm.
like I trust you. And once they knew that, they literally just started throwing harder out of
Yeah,
nowhere. And it
yeah,
wasn't even like we didn't change anything. We just what the change was just letting him know, like, hey, you have a coach, I'm here. I
mhm.
trust you and I know you can do this. Like I'm willing to put all my eggs in your basket.
Exactly, exactly. And once you have the athlete's trust, and once the athlete trusts his coach, like sky's the limit. Like anything could happen, and any like little click you want to do, if he trusts your work and trusts you, like it's gonna work out and it's gonna pan out. And like even like another thing that helped my athletes deal with the yips and even me was visualization. Like a lot of the best pitchers in the game do it. I know a couple years ago a video of Clayton Kershaw went viral before a playoff game. He was visualizing it in the bullpen, and that stuff I carried on, right? Even before game days, going back to my playing career, like, a big series, I'm over here on the mound visualizing, in the bullpen, visualizing hitters. Even at bed, like in bed, laying down, looking up, close my eyes, visualizing. Cause like I wanted to be in that moment. I wanted to see myself having success.
Yeah, yeah, visualization is a pretty powerful one, man. Like it's you can do it in so many different ways too, how you said. Like I used to do it like kind of like sitting obviously in bed and just looking up, or I just like throwing my AirPods and just going for a walk or something. You just like visualize the whole concept of things, and it's like you're in the moment without being in the moment. So it's like extra reps.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
So I know now you're training minor leaguers. When it comes to the mental side, like what's really the difference between a professional and amateur, like college ball player or high school player, or like have you noticed like there's really not much really difference on mental side of things?
Well, it all depends. Like I mentioned before, some guys are result based, have that result based mindset. Some are process based, but it's also harder in college in pro ball because now with all these new roster rules and stuff like that, like guys have a little more added pressure. Like each year the rosters are gonna keep cutting. Guys are like, am I the next one to get cut? They see other guys getting cut, their friends, so they have a little more pressure. But the biggest thing is not getting complacent. Like a lot of guys, they have the potential and like everybody's big on them, but once they get complacent, let's say if you get to a certain level, then it's over for you. You always got to stay hungry, and like that's the biggest thing I see. Some guys once they sign, like, oh, I made it, right? That's it. Like I made it. You got X and X bonus. That's it. You're set. But the ones who actually go far is the ones who handle the mental side, handle the failure, and looking at it as a process base because you're always gonna have changes in your career, whether it be a grip change, mechanical change, like something, even like a glove placement change. But if you're able to accept that, right, and trust it, that is gonna help you in the long run. Like they're gonna succeed. Those are the ones who succeed.
How do you trust something like that? How do you trust that, hey, this is going to be the right path for me? You
So
know,
the biggest thing now working on the pro ball side is like we have all these gadgets, all the technology, right? We have everything everybody wants. So just trusting that your coach, the professional coach, the one that he's been through that, he's studied that, he's worked with other athletes that he wants the best for you at the end. Where it's a business and we want to get the most guys to the big leagues.
so I'm curious, man, because obviously, like you've made the transfer from the player to a coach. So everything that you've learned in your career when it comes on the mental side, like like even the mental side, like still affects us as coach nowadays. Like, how do you deal with that now? When you're like, because sometimes like you can almost question yourself, like, well, like you know that you're the best shot for a lot of these athletes, but you know, how do you know that if you make this slight change, you know, this is going to be good for this athlete? So, or this is going to be detrimental for him, or maybe if you're calling pitches, how do you, you know, deal with the concept that, hey, maybe you just called a bad pitch and he got bombed, and now that like kind of like looks back on you. I'm pretty sure that has somewhat of an effect on the mental side. So like, if it does, like, how do you deal with that as well for any coaches watching?
Definitely, like there's times where like you can make the perfect pitch, you can execute your pitch, and the hitter just beats you to it. But just trusting that and trusting the report that you talk with your pitcher for the next time, like because a hitter could get out 7 times out of 10 and still be a Hall of Famer, 300 hitter. So trusting that even though he beat you on this pitch, like making sure you execute a little better the next time, and just from a mental side, from the coach's standpoint, like it's tough because with athletes, some of them are inconsistent, some of them are consistent. So you can't really get too high or too low with their success. Like, like really always applaud them, always giving them confidence. But even if they're low, like don't really get into them, get in their face. Like, because at the end of the day, they're trying to do their best. You're trying to coach them their best too. So I really don't try to like push my athletes like either high or too low. Like whatever happens, hey, we're gonna keep working. We're gonna keep working. Tomorrow's another day. Let's keep doing it.
If you can go back into your career and when it comes to like the mental side, like what is something that you would tell yourself? What is the shift that you will make earlier on in your career?
Well, I wish I knew the mental side a little better back then in high school. Because coming in high school, like you have that mindset, oh, D1 or bust, like it's D1 or nothing. And it
Mm.
wasn't until like I ended up going JUCO first before playing D1, and that mindset changed because I was a thrower, right? And my first year of college ball, I kind of struggled. Like I didn't have the success I wanted to. I had the hype around me, but it wasn't what I wanted. So and then it wasn't until that summer ball where I went and I played in the Northwoods League, and I had fantastic coaches, fantastic teammates, enjoyed it. Where I was like, okay, this is what I gotta do to succeed at the high level, because I was playing with talent that was way above the talent I was facing at the JUCO level. And there I became a pitcher. And there, like I had that self-confidence. I was like, look, if I can dominate this league as a freshman, a 17-year-old freshman, like going against 20, 21-year-olds, 22-year-olds, like I can dominate my conference in JUCO. So then I took that same mindset. I became better. I became a better pitcher, a better athlete, because I saw what the D1 athletes were doing in preparation for the game, how early they came to the game, the PFPs, like everything, their recovery in between starts, in between appearances, and like that just helped me from there, from the mental side and also the confidence side. Like, look, I'm him. Like I'm really him. Like I was him in high school. I struggled with freshman year, but hey, I'm back. Like I'm him.
Yeah, man. I think that's something that we didn't mention. You know, a lot of times, because the mental side can affect you many different ways and you can overcome it in many different ways. And something that's like very important to know is that your environment has a lot to do with that.
Hmm.
And it's funny you mentioned the Northwoods because I dealt with the same thing myself. Like, you know, from being able to throw in the 90s in high school, going to college, like barely making over 86 my whole entire career, like it just didn't make sense. And one summer, the summer after you, I believe it was, I ended up going to the Northwoods League. And I was one, it was two JUCO guys, I was one of them. And everybody else were just D1 ball players, Oregon State, Oregon, Fullerton, you know, New Mexico State. I just got to surround myself with a lot of these athletes, and I noticed a big mindset shift that they had from the JUCO guys. Like they were like more polished, they were like more like they would joke around, don't get me wrong. Like they were kids. They were literally kids. But when the umpire said play ball, they were like different human beings. And it's crazy how they made that shift. I was like,
Sure,
whoa.
for sure.
But definitely like bringing myself in that environment without like just making any crazy changes. Like I got back up to 91 just by being around people who were good, you know,
Exactly,
made the
exactly.
correlation to myself. So yeah,
Exactly. You definitely want to surround yourself with the best. Like I would say, if you're an athlete and you want to play at the high level, like always surround yourself with those guys who are the better ones on the team. And I was fortunate enough, like I was able to fall into routine with my roommate, Jeff Lindgren. He's with the Marlins. He made it to the big leagues, and also a guy named Chris Roycroft was with the Cardinals big league. They were on my Northwoods team, and their routine was impeccable. Like like they would go. when we play at night. So then after the night game rest, early in the morning, they're at the gym right away at the gym. Arrive early to the ballpark, have lunch, and then they're back at it, working on their craft, plyo routines, mechanical work on the slope. Like there's a lot of stuff, and we was fortunate enough to have a great pitching coach in Carson Winston, who was a first round pick, seventh overall. He went to University of Florida, so like he was already like at the top, like he'd been to the top, so he shared a lot of knowledge with us as well.
For sure, man. Do you have any last words for those athletes, coaches, that are watching this podcast here, and they've struggled with the mental side for a long time, and it's something that's really been affected their game because there's a lot of good ball players out there, but unfortunately their mental side just keeps them held back under the shadow. So like any last words for those guys, anything that you would say to support or help them change?
For players, like always confidence and embrace your environment, embrace that mindset you have. Like if it's like, wow, like I'm not at the same caliber as the player I'm playing against, embrace that underdog. Everyone likes that underdog story, and if you're the underdog, you have nothing to lose. Like playing at the D1 level, we played against like high SEC schools, but if you come into it scared, you're not gonna win. Like only way you're gonna win if like, hey, I'm the underdog, but I want to beat them. Like I want to compete. And at the end of the day, baseball is a competition. It's a game. So just have confidence, compete, and pitch by pitch, and you should be good.
Awesome, man. Awesome. So there you guys have it. Mental side. JC Bonilla, thank you for joining us today. Minor league pitching coach. So wish you nothing but success, man. I've seen you grow up to this point, from your high school career to now like being a coach. And I'm pretty sure like you're doing your thing out there because I just know you on a personal level and I just know your work ethic and what you can do to change athletes' lives, especially what we spoke out here today, is definitely something that not many other coaches have. So hopefully this was pretty good to kind of hear for a lot of other athletes and coaches who are struggling with the mindset, and just it's all about being in the present moment, making that mindset shift of like, hey, this is what's truly mattering right now, working on your craft, and creating a routine that would just make you unbeatable, embracing the setbacks.
If you guys want us to hit on another topic, let us know. Like I'm more than welcome. You my boy. Anything you need, we here for you and versatile.
Thank you. Awesome, guys. But hopefully you guys enjoy this. JC, thank you once more, and I'll see you guys on the next one.